Hello, and welcome back to another episode. You join me rather late on a Sunday evening. The Christmas tree is up, the festive spirit is here, and I, quite naturally, find myself in the mood to play Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild on Nintendo Switch. Except, I'm a little bit surprised that that's still the case. I'm delighted, but I'm surprised. After all, in recent weeks and months, I've managed to get my hands on a copy of Assassin's Creed Odyssey on PlayStation 4. A beautiful open-world adventure assassin-y game. And yet, I just want to play Zelda. Shadow of the Tomb Raider, PlayStation 4. A friend lent me this, and it's a gorgeous game. It finishes a story that I've been enthralled by for the past several years, and yet, it's Legend of Zelda. Breath of the Wild, 19 months after release, is still enthralling me. This is my third playthrough of the game, and I can't stop thinking about it. And I can't help but wonder whether it's something to do with what the developers called its open-air quality. The fact that this game is more than just an open world action-adventure game, it has that extra something, a bit of magic. For example, I wanted in Assassin's Creed Odyssey to be able to glide into an enemy camp, to surprise them and find them maybe sleeping, to see them getting up, not quite knowing how they're going to react to my presence, but nonetheless draw out a fire arrow and blow the whole place to hell. Then, using the updraft from a local fire, use the advantage gain to blow someone else off a tower, and finally switch to a powerful sword and finish off the camp. In exciting fashion. I ached to be able to do that in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and to a certain extent you can. They have fixed some of the clunky combat mechanics that were present in previous iterations of Assassin's Creed. It is, in my opinion, the best Assassin's Creed game since Black Flag, and Black Flag is basically my favourite Assassin's Creed title. But there's something extra in this game. There's something extra about how you never quite know, for example, what the enemies are going to do. Recently, a couple of days ago, I was fascinated by the fact that I chucked a bomb at one of these guys, only to find him kick it back at me. That's something that you don't get in Assassin's Creed Odyssey. In Shadow of the Tomb Raider, it's a gorgeous game. I mean, in many ways, it's better, certainly in terms of the resolution of the textures, for example, on these rocks, than the graphics that you get in this game. But there's something mechanical about it. It's very A to B to Z. It's very linear. And even though there are moments of high action and adventure and story, I'm less engaged with that game than I am with Breath of the Wild. I'm less in the world. And there's something to do with the fact that there are invisible walls. No matter how free you are to approach the enemies as Rambo-like as perhaps the game developers wanted to introduce in the Shadow of the Tomb Raider, you still feel as though you're playing in a very narrow corridor, and that those rules are a tight play space, limiting how you can approach the problem at hand. I felt the fact that I was playing a computer game. I didn't feel as though I was creating, as it were, the experience of that computer game. Now, in recent months, for example, in October, I played Resident Evil 7. And I was really excited with that game at that sense of experience creation, the fact that you're discovering the environment, in a very similar fashion to for example, the storytelling technique that you see in the Half-Life games. You only know as much as the protagonist knows. You know, you are learning as you move forward through the game, and you are feeling your way literally around a haunted house. And in that sense, that constructed experience makes perfect sense for Resident Evil 7. And it enhances it when they are able to build in, for example, jump scares and that sense of constructed and managed, for example, disgust and fear, of course. But in an open world game, ever since I played Breath of the Wild, I expect and I desire a sense of agency. I desire the ability to go on little adventures that come out of the the unpredictable nature of what the player is going to do, what I'm going to do, but also as well come out of the fact that the game is built on a set of mechanics that interact beautifully. I think a good way to illustrate what I'm trying to get at here is a bit of a comparison with a game like Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Here I am playing as Cassandra, and I truly love this game, I really do, and I will go back to it and complete it. But notice as I swim around how everything is set dressing. There's no consequence to swimming past a jellyfish, you don't get stung, you can't catch one of these fish and cook it for a meal. You are there to simply fulfill the objective of the moment, and that is to loot the ship. Similarly, on dry land, the setting is undoubtedly pretty. This is a gorgeous game, and in so many respects, it is more photoreal, if that's your end goal, than Zelda Breath of the Wild. But it is nonetheless a setting, a prop for the story. Now, ironically, this game has much more in the way of explicit, readable landscape and archaeology, for example. This temple is a ruin. Even in ancient times, it had been ruined by an earthquake, and it's surrounded by a ruined village as well. The story is there, but it still feels somehow detached from you as a player. And I think this is something to do with the nature of the avatar that you're controlling in the game. Cassandra doesn't have to change her clothing to suit the environment. If it's hot or cold or wet or dry, she can wear what she wants. In fact, she can always upgrade what she's wearing to make it better. She doesn't have to make a choice about, well, this armor is better than that armor, and therefore I will keep it. You can do that. You can swap armor out, and that's been praised in this version of Assassin's Creed as a feature of the game. But there's no reason to. If you really like a piece of armor, as in a classic RPG, you can just keep on upgrading its stats, basically, at the blacksmith in a slightly unrealistic way. You just go to the blacksmith, give him some, quote, materials, basically just numbers of stuff that you've gathered, and out comes an upgraded piece of armor that looks the same. There's no real consequence to your choices, and nothing really grounding you in this world. In Breath of the Wild, for example, Link cannot cross the desert unless he's wearing appropriate clothing. He'll get too hot in the day, and he'll get too cold at night. He can't climb a mountain unless he's dressed appropriately. And the clever thing is, there's more than one way to mitigate those problems. In the desert, if it's hot, you can simply strap an ice rod to your back and that will cool you down. You don't have to play the game of wearing even appropriate clothing. You are given a certain amount of freedom within the rules, the physical laws of the game, to exist in that world in a way that really is not achieved in a game as beautiful and expansive and thought out even as Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Incidentally, this is that ruined, earthquake-ravaged village I was talking about. So, here's another camp. Let's see how these guys react to me. Well, they're rushing me at the moment. Lightning, make them all drop their weapons. Oh, have I killed them all? Ah. Oh no, there's still one guy with an arrow, bow and arrow. Where is he? There he is. Okay. I don't need a bomb for this guy, do I? Let's see. Normal arrow, okay. And there we go. It's the fact that this game is built on lots of little systems interacting. Electricity electrocutes, fire burns, wind blows, rain makes things wet. For example, climbing mountains. I'm sure many people have experienced the frustration of trying to climb a mountain in the rain in this game. These things force you to feel as though you're in the world. They force you to feel as though you are on an adventure in this place. And you're not so much thinking, well, what does the game developer want me to do? What is intended in this particular I don't know, this set piece. Rather, you have to use your guile, your cunning, and your sense of adventure. Hello, Gero. I'll sell you something. What should I sell him? I shall sell him some keys eyeballs. I shall sell 5. Yeah. No, that's good. Okay, what have we got? Oh. Ooh, big hearty truffle. Yes, I think I'll grab some of that deal. Yeah. Okay. It's a real testament to this game that it is so fresh still, and that it is continuing to surprise and delight. And it is, I think, the fact that they're not scared to throw in elements like, for example, a dragon flying through the sky in the background. It's the fact that in this ostensibly medieval type adventure, you have access to technological things like, for example, well, a camera. I'm actually really quite enjoying, sad as it may be, taking photos for the compendium. Let's see if that was any good. Well, certainly an action shot, but I think I'll keep the old picture. Even though I took a hit for it, it was worth it. It's the fact that you feel simultaneously as though you are playing, role-playing in that sense, in this world, but also as though, because of access to things like, essentially, a tablet and very modern technology, you feel as though you are also yourself in this world. Nintendo have crafted something truly special, and I'm not sure if I'll ever stop wanting to play this game. I know I'm not alone. I understand I'm not alone, and I also understand I'm not alone in looking at, for example, the landscape and reading it. For example, the Dea ruins here. I'm still fascinated by this place. This is a village that seemingly grew up in a great big crater, basically, in the landscape, that at one point was surrounded by huge, massive trees. I found myself wondering, are these trees related to the Deku tree, for example? Then again, the current incarnation of the Deku tree is some distance from here. Perhaps not. But nonetheless, you have this huge forest seemingly around a crater. At some point the forest died or fell over. Water came or receded, and it was dry enough for a time at least for people to build here houses. Then eventually the whole place flooded. There's a story in the landscape that you just don't get in other or many other open world games. You do get them, for example, in Skyrim and in Fallout, but there's something a little bit more clumsy in those games. There's something a bit more studio character driven, if that makes any sense. You feel the hand of the Bethesda developers in a Bethesda game, and I'm sure people who've been playing Fallout 76 would definitely agree with that. Trying to chase these sparkles. In this game, the story is there, but there's no real sense of, I suppose, bragging about it that maybe you get in a Bethesda game. In a Bethesda game, you're sort of forced to discover something. Then they'll tell you literally about it in documents and books and things. And while I love it, I always have loved, for example, the world of well, certainly Skyrim in particular, the province of Skyrim in Tamriel. There's just that extra element. It is the open airness of Breath of the Wild that is magnificent. Now then, this guy, he really annoys me. Let's see if I can actually tell what I shall. Don't want to whistle. Oh, whistled. Okay. What if he heard the whistle? Yes, he did hear the whistle. You see, I love it. Come on. Got him. Did he drop his fire rod? He did! A magical rod that casts fireballs, crafted by an ancient magician. The rod will break if it strikes something directly, so use wisely. Thank you very much. And as quickly as this story occurred to me for this little section of the landscape, I'm able to move on. It's not even part of the quest. I don't need to understand what happened here. It's simply intrinsic to the game. And actually that's become even more clear to me since I got my hands on creating a champion, the art of Breath of the Wild. This game absolutely has history written into its geography. That's actually a terminology that the developers used when they were designing the game. They knew that this landscape would have a story, and that it would be possible to understand how things happened and when they happened. And all you had to do was be open to explore. And I love it. I simply love it. Now, a friend of mine has suggested that for similar reasons I should at least try and play the Witcher games, in particular The Witcher 3. I do have a copy of The Witcher 2, I think the special edition for the Xbox 360, which I'm yet to try. So maybe I should try that particular brand of open world game, and maybe that will help to put Breath of the Wild into a bit more context. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that this game is an originator. This game is very much standing on the shoulders of giants. It's standing on the context of Skyrim. It's standing on the fact that I have enjoyed and played other open world games in the past. It's rather just that this particular game seems to invite you to do things and to think about things in a way that those other games only hinted at. And oh, 2 fruits, 1 fruit, 1 fruit. Again, whimsy and delight, I reckon. Let's see. So pick this one. Jump down. Oh, okay. Are there any extra fruits that I haven't seen? Oh, there's another fruit on there. Okay. Yes. Incidentally, my wife loves the Koroks, and how you can just find them everywhere. But you see, 3 trees, 2 of them were the same, 1 was different. All you had to do was employ a little bit of curiosity, and you are rewarded. The game completely rewards you for thinking in the moment. And okay, I suppose you could argue that is another version of the story-driven corridor that for example the Shadow of the Tomb Raider is. You could argue that's actually a form of set piece, in fact. But there's something standoffish about the way that you come across these things. You don't have to do any of this. For example, this. You don't have to, but you want to. I love it. I love it. And ahead of a very busy week when I wasn't sure I'd really have time to record a Soup's Eye View video this week, I simply had to share the fact that I very naturally find myself returning to Zelda Breath of the Wild still, and I don't think there's any end in sight. I wonder if it's the same for you. Do you find yourself thinking about this game, meditating on its possibilities and on its beauty, or just simply enjoying it, enjoying the fact that you can meander through such a beautifully realised version of Hyrule? Please do let me know below in the comments. I'd love to hear your stories. What have you discovered? How has this game surprised you? Do you look forward to being surprised in the future? I certainly do. Anyway, guys, as I say, it is Sunday night. My lovely wife is in the kitchen cooking some beautiful soup, and I'm rather hungry. As ever, until next time, do take care. Bye-bye.